Think of it as a modern day version of the gold rush. But in this version, it's folks developing apps for your smartphone and your iPad. And of course, the prize could be millions of apps sold around the world. New York Times gadget columnist Bob Tedeschi, he went undercover to develop an app of his own. It's a kids app called Bobo Explores Light. And there's a twist to it. It became a huge hit. #1 app in 12 different countries, even won a bunch of awards. Bob joins us now. So, Bob, how did you do this? Because, secretly, I just want to develop an app and, retire. It's like, how do you do it?
Yeah, no, that's not how it works. So back in 2009, I'd started the App Smart column for the Times, and we'd been tracking the boom in apps, and everybody seemed to be talking about how to develop an app. They wanted to build an app of their own, and we figured, all right, well, let's write about that. How do you actually find a developer, build an app, and get it birthed? And so, I sat with that idea for a better part of a year or so, and then I came across a developer named George Lavach in Seattle, a tremendously talented guy, and we talked about collaborating, and both of us had a passion for children's education and figured that the iPad would be a real ideal place to kind of explore some things in teaching children scientific concepts. And so we started down that road and found a real talented illustrator named Dean McAdam in San Diego, and started pushing in that direction.
And Bob, were you shocked that it took off the way it did?
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked. Going into the process of when we went to release it, I did it under a pseudonym because I didn't want, frankly, I didn't want any preferential treatment from Apple because I was covering I was covering Apple apps, and so I did it under a pseudonym and figured, well, if it didn't hit, I knew how good it was. That was part of the story, and there's a lot of developers who put out good stuff and don't get that kind of audience. And when it took off, I was shocked. It was awesome.
Bob, you had to leave though, right? Did you have to leave the New York Times, leave your job in order to do this because you wanted to avoid a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah, well, sort of. I kept covering apps for another year after this was released, but what I did was I carved out children's educational apps and didn't write about those because that would have been a clear conflict and didn't want that to pose any problems. So I continued on and then have gradually stepped back from that beat.
All right, so Bob, what's the secret? Tell us, for those of us who are looking for their great app idea, we think we've come up with one and then somebody else has already done it before.
Yeah,
what do you do?
Easy,
how do you
right?
do it?
I wish it was that easy. It's the trick really is to find the three legs of the stool. You've got to have really great technology, you've got to have great art, and you've got to have great content. And we were lucky in that we had three people who had expertise in each of those three areas and who really had a passion for what we were doing. We worked for 6 months. About 2,000 man hours on this. None of us got paid during that process, and we just really loved what we were doing. So I think that that came through, I think, in the product. I think Bobo has been a hit, partially because I think that sort of passion came through in the end product. And it's easy to build an app.
Yeah.
It's hard to build a good one that'll really engage people, I think, on the level that you're hoping.
Yeah, well, you're getting paid now, and you're still writing, so that's a good thing. You must love your job. Congratulations, Bob. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks for having me.
It started off